The United Kingdom, a realm steeped in history and tradition, has long stood as a beacon of unity and strength on the world stage. But whispers of division have begun to echo through its ancient lands, raising a question that once seemed unthinkable. What if the UK splits? The very notion sends ripples of uncertainty across this land of rolling hills and bustling cities. For centuries, England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland have been bound together, their destinies interwoven in a complex tapestry of shared history, culture and governance. But the threads that bind them are being tested, strained by political tides, economic disparities, and a yearning for self-determination that echoes through the ages. The political landscape of the United Kingdom, always a dynamic arena, would be utterly transformed by a dissolution of the Union. The balance of power, carefully calibrated over centuries, would be thrown into disarray. In Westminster, the seat of British political power, the very structure of government would be forced to adapt to a new reality. The House of Commons, where the voices of the United Kingdom have long resonated, would have to redefine its purpose and representation. The ramifications would extend far beyond the hallowed halls of Parliament. The intricate web of laws and regulations that govern this nation would need to be untangled and rewritten. Trade agreements, painstakingly negotiated over decades, would be cast into doubt. Scotland, with its long history of seeking independence, would likely see the most immediate and dramatic changes. The Scottish National Party, a powerful force in Scottish politics, has long advocated for a separation from the UK. For England, the largest and most populous of the four nations, the political landscape would be reshaped by the loss of its northern neighbour. The Conservative Party, traditionally strong in England, would need to re-evaluate its strategies in a post-UK world. Wales too would find itself navigating uncharted waters. While the desire for independence is perhaps less pronounced in Wales than in Scotland, the nation would nonetheless be forced to forge its own path. And what of Northern Ireland, a land long marked by conflict and division? The fragile peace that has held for decades could be threatened by the shifting political sands. The Good Friday Agreement, a landmark achievement that brought an end to the Troubles, would need to be carefully safeguarded. The political implications of a UK split are vast and complex, with each nation facing its own unique set of challenges and opportunities. The very fabric of British governance would be tested, and the outcome would reverberate far beyond the shores of these islands. The economic consequences of a UK split would be profound, sending shockwaves through the global economy and leaving no corner of these islands untouched. The pound sterling, a symbol of stability for generations, would likely face volatility in the face of such uncertainty. England, with its powerful financial centre in London, would face the daunting task of disentangling its economy from those of its neighbours. The city, a global hub for finance and commerce, would need to adapt to a new reality, one in which its ties to the European Union and the remaining UK nations are redefined. Scotland, rich in natural resources, particularly oil and gas, would face the challenge of establishing its own independent economy. The revenues from these resources, currently shared within the UK, would become a vital source of income for an independent Scotland. Wales, with its economy closely tied to that of England, would need to forge new trading relationships both within the former UK and internationally. The agricultural sector, a cornerstone of the Welsh economy, would be particularly vulnerable to any disruptions in trade. Northern Ireland, with its economy heavily reliant on subsidies from the UK government, would face perhaps the most significant economic challenges. The border between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, which would become the UK's only land border with the European Union, would become a focal point of concern. The intricate web of trade, investment and financial ties that bind these nations would be torn asunder, forcing each to chart its own economic course through uncertain waters. The cost of separation would be high, but so too would be the potential rewards for those who can adapt and thrive in a new world order. Beyond the political and economic upheavals, a UK split would have a profound impact on the very fabric of society, challenging long-held identities and reshaping the cultural landscape of these islands. The sense of shared history and heritage that has united these nations for centuries would be tested as never before. In England, the largest and most diverse of the four nations, the question of English identity would take on a new urgency. With the ties to Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland severed, what would it mean to be English in this new era? Scotland, with its distinct cultural heritage and a strong sense of national pride, would likely see a resurgence in its own unique traditions. The Gaelic language, once on the brink of extinction, could experience a revival as Scots embrace their cultural roots. Wales, too, would have the opportunity to celebrate its own distinct culture and language. The Welsh language, already experiencing a resurgence in recent years, could flourish in an independent Wales. For Northern Ireland, the question of identity is deeply intertwined with the legacy of the Troubles. A UK split could reignite old tensions between those who identify as British and those who identify as Irish, adding another layer of complexity to an already fragile peace. The cultural landscape of the UK, so rich and diverse, would be forever altered by a split. The shared experiences that have shaped these islands for centuries would give way to new narratives, new perspectives, and a re-examination of what it means to belong. The UK's dissolution would send shockwaves across the globe, forcing a recalibration of international relations and leaving a void in the established world order. Alliances forged over centuries would be tested, and new partnerships would emerge from the shifting sands of global power. The European Union, of which the UK has been a leading member, would feel the impact of a split most acutely. The UK's departure from the EU has already created significant challenges for both sides, and a further fragmentation of the UK would only complicate matters further. The United States, a long-standing ally of the UK, would find itself navigating a more complex relationship with the individual nations of England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. The special relationship forged over centuries of shared history and values would need to be redefined in this new era. China, a rising global power, would likely see an opportunity to advance its own interests in a post-UK world. The economic and political clout of a united UK would be diminished, potentially creating space for China to exert greater influence. Russia, often at odds with the West, would also be watching closely, seeking to exploit any divisions or weaknesses that emerge from a UK split. The geopolitical landscape of Europe, already fragile, would be further destabilized by the fragmentation of the UK. The UK, once a major player on the world stage, would find its influence diminished as its constituent nations chart their own independent courses. The world would watch with bated breath as the once united kingdom navigates its uncertain future. Beyond the grand stage of politics and economics, it is in the everyday lives of ordinary citizens that the true cost of a UK split would be felt most keenly. Families and communities, long intertwined across national borders, would find themselves divided by newly drawn lines on a map. For those with loved ones living in different parts of the UK, the freedom of movement that has long been taken for granted would be thrown into doubt. The ease with which families and friends could once visit each other would be replaced by a complex web of visas, passports and border controls. Students seeking to pursue their education in different parts of the UK would face new barriers and uncertainties. The free flow of students between universities across the UK, a cornerstone of the British education system, would be disrupted. Healthcare, a fundamental human right, would also be affected. The NHS, a source of national pride and a lifeline for millions, would likely be decentralised, with each nation responsible for its own healthcare system. The social fabric of the UK, woven over generations of shared experiences, would be tested by the strains of division. The bonds of friendship, family and community, so essential to human well-being, would need to be reforged in a new and uncertain era. The human cost of a UK split would be immeasurable, felt most acutely by those whose lives are most deeply intertwined across national borders. The challenges would be great, but so too would be the resilience and adaptability of the human spirit as it navigates the uncharted waters of a divided kingdom. The United Kingdom, a tapestry woven from threads of history, culture and shared destiny, stands at a crossroads. The path ahead is shrouded in mist, the consequences of each step uncertain. Whether the bonds of union will hold or the ties that bind will finally break remains to be seen. The forces of change are relentless, reshaping the world around us in ways both profound and unpredictable. The future of these islands, like the intricate ecosystems of our planet, is a delicate balance, vulnerable to the slightest disruption. As we look to the future, one thing is certain: the story of the United Kingdom is far from over. It is a story that will continue to unfold, for better or for worse, in the hearts and minds of its people and on the world stage for generations to come.